The following program may contain subject matter and language that those with a weak constitution will find distasteful and offensive. You've been warned.
Dude, WTF.
Oh, man. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Dude, what the fuck?
What the fuck, man?
What the fuck?
Come on, man.
Dude.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the
Come on, man. What the
WTF, dude?
What the fuck, man?
Get in here. What the
Holy shit, what the fuck?
WTF, man?
Dude, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the fuck?
What the fuck? Oh my god, what the fuck? WTF, dude. WTF, oh my god.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, November 21st, 2011. Welcome to this edition of WTF. I guess you could call it the Thanksgiving edition of WTF. Tonight I am joined by a slew of hosts. Every one of them is a host in their own right. Two of them from the Oracle Broadcasting Network. So let me introduce them. First, we got Jules from Radio X. Jules, say hello.
Hello.
Next, we have Ken Hildebrand from the Information Nation. Ken, say hello.
Hello.
Bob Tuskin from the Bob Tuskin Radio Show. Bob.
Yeah, I don't have to say hello like everyone else. Cool.
And one of my really, really good friends, Chris Geo. Chris, how are you?
Always a pleasure to be on. Thanks, Popeye.
What about Sheree?
I don't know if she's on with us yet, so I wasn't sure.
She's not here yet.
See?
She's making cigarettes and coffee.
WTF, Bob. Yeah, exactly. What the Bob? Jesus.
All right. Calm down now.
At least we're a group and not a gaggle.
Oh, God.
What is the difference between a group and a gaggle, Ken?
I don't know. Why don't you tell us, Bob?
I don't know. What do you think? Because I'm Jewish, I know this?
Yes.
No, I figured because, Jesus, you got to go right there, right off the bat.
I should say,
People are supposed to know this stuff. They have a long history. And you should know all of this stuff, Bob.
Yeah, true. You did wander around the desert for
40 years.
Something like that.
you know, they also have a long history of being political misfits and being kicked out of most countries. So,
Kind of like the Jesuits, too.
If they work at it,
Yeah.
they can get kicked out of most bars.
oh yeah. I get kicked out of most bars because I don't drink.
See, you're a leader in your nation. I like
Bob,
that.
you get kicked out of most bars because your afro doesn't fit through the front door.
That's true. I have to pay 2 covers.
And that they want to charge you for the stool that your ego sits on. And you're always upset about paying for that as well.
Now, when I had to go perform with the reggae band, that was quite an experience because I would usually just sit back as long as possible in the green room, okay? And they call it the green room for a reason. And I would wait. What's that?
Because it's green.
Oh, Ken's got an alien with him. Yeah, because it's green, exactly, and because that's where all the green was. So I would sit there in the green room with the green and wait as long as possible before I would get on stage with my afro and my bullhorn. I actually occasionally would bring my bullhorn on stage and perform into the bullhorn, okay, into the microphone. Nobody's ever done this as far as I know. Okay, this was the...
What were you performing?
I'm a reggae performer.
Do you
You know
have the
this?
music? No, I know, but I wasn't sure what you... Who knows with you, Bob? Okay?
Yeah.
You could have been doing poetry for all I know.
I do that as well.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't. Just joking. So I would go up there.
I'll use a word you could appreciate. Oi!
Oy vey. Anyways, Enough of me reliving.
Yes, I'll stop picking on Bob for the day. Okay.
Well, that's what this WTF show is going to turn into. Let's figure out how many ways we can pick on Bob Tuskin. But
well,
let's
it's
not make
already
this.
We've already skewered multiple people on this. Trust me.
Is
Annie
anybody
wants
still
to
listening?
sing.
What'd you say, Ken?
I said Annie wants Bob to sing.
Somebody
Well,
wants me to sing.
Bob,
And
don't
it's-
you have a clip of one of your songs you did? You want to play it? You can play it.
Well, yeah, I guess now I'm obliged to do so. I have
launched out on air to do it.
yeah. Well, I have two clips. I could play a clip of me live in concert, or I'll just play something that hasn't been finished yet. It's kind of rough. My buddy Payday Monsanto and I were working on it. And right now the working title is Garden in Babylon. Okay? Gardens in Babylon. Okay? And let's see if I can... Oh, you know what, Popeye? I'm going to have to tease that until another segment because I didn't have my soundboard connected so that I could play clips right away. So we're going to have to tease that.
We
And there we go.
can tease it and then you can play it.
They'll have to wait. Anyways, Chris Geo is the real musician here. He is so talented, folks. Not only is he a brilliant researcher, and I'm not just trying to brown nose here, folks. I got to tell you, I am wowed by Chris's ability as a producer. And really, folks, he inspires me. He inspires me to be a better truther, a more productive truther, because this guy spends hours methodically going through his music, his show bumpers. You would imagine a talented producer would have very...
Well, it's really not all of that, Bob. It's just that I mind control the people listening to make them think that I'm really good when I'm really not. That's the whole secret. That's the secret behind the music industry. You didn't know that?
Well, that's
They just
why I
hypnotize
like
you to
Jay-Z.
believing that they have talent.
And Lady
That's
Gaga.
drugs.
And Chris actually did a remake of a Jay-Z song in which he, as Jay-Z does, tries to brainwash you to think he has talent, which absolutely went viral. Have you guys heard that, Popeye, Ken, Jules?
No.
I've heard it. I told Chris, one of my friends actually has it, and he drives up and down when he goes to South Beach. He literally drives up and down, blasting a couple of Chris's tunes and some of Payday's music.
Nice.
I think it's funny when he came up to me, he was like, "Oh my God, this new artist, Payday Monsanto," and I started laughing at him. It's like he's always. He's a good friend of mine, but it's always like when he comes up to me, it's like, yeah, dude. It's like that commercial have you guys seen that cell phone commercial where they're like 27 seconds ago?
No.
You haven't seen that commercial yet? One of these stupid mind-numbing...
I don't
cell
own a
phone
TV,
commercials?
so I wouldn't be able to see.
I can't wait
I
2
don't
weeks.
watch it either.
2 weeks till I move out. No more cable television because
Nice.
it's
Does the
free with
wife
my
know
rent
this?
here. And in my new place, it's not free with rent. And I'm a Jew, and I won't pay for it.
Does the wife know this?
Oh yeah, she's cool. I mean, I'm gonna have my Roku box, which you could do like Netflix.
What is she going to do without Desperate Housewives?
The Hulu, buddy.
Oh, Hulu's got
Should.
Desperate Housewives?
Yeah, dude. That. You know that commercial where they said, "Well, we're trying to eat your brains or whatever," because we're aliens. We're gonna eat your brains, whatever. It's a conspiracy. Yeah. If you ever go on Hulu, it really is. It is the mind numbers paradise. If you want to forget about reality, go on Hulu. Seriously.
I don't want to forget about reality.
Oh, Sheree's here. Hi, Sheree.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I agree. I don't want to forget about reality either, but that is
me
a
and
mind
Chris-
numbers paradise right there.
Yeah, it is. But me and Chris watched Dexter last night, and
Yeah, we watch that religiously.
and they were talking about people killing themselves because they're worried about doomsday happening. And then
That was a bit odd.
And then today we get a call from one of our friends who apparently has an online stalker, basically, that people are claiming she killed herself because of what she heard on his YouTube channel.
Well, his
About-
stalkers are claiming that this girl wrote him some kind of heartfelt suicide note and then killed herself because of his research into Nibiru.
You know, I think that is something that they want you to believe. You know, I was watching a Frank Zappa clip today back from '86, and Frank was talking about censorship and, you know, the message that's out there, and the hosts of the show were arguing with him about how it's affecting teens, and teens are committing suicide because of words and the words in the songs. I mean, they're really trying to convince you that online media is bad. Watching this stuff is bad. If you
Jules, I'm going to cut you off right there. We're going to break, but I want to pick up on this when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to WTF here on the Orion Talk Radio Network. I, Popeye from FederalJack.com, am your humble host this evening, and I'm hanging out with my good friends, Jules from Radio X, Ken Hildebrand from the Information Nation, Bob Tuskin from the Bob Tuskin Radio Show and the Bob Tuskin Everything, and Chris, Geo, and Sheree of Truth Frequency. What's up, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, don't everybody hop up at once to say something.
Well, me and Chris have a tendency to like step on each other whenever somebody asks, "Hey, how you guys doing?" We look at each other like deer in the headlights. Oh, who's going to go first? And it's usually me because he's a gentleman every time.
Aw. Chris, you're such a... Hey, Jules.
Well, that's the way it should be. You know, I mean, people have lost their manners, and you can just go to any online forum, comments, anything like that, and you wonder, do these people act like this in real life? No, of course not.
Oh, dude, of course not.
They come into the chat room and they bitch about getting thrown out, and it's like, well, wait a minute. If you were at a friend's house acting a fool like that, you wouldn't expect to get thrown out, or
if you acted like that,
or if somebody was acting like that in your home, you wouldn't throw them out.
Well, see, that's how I try to tell people is treat my chat room like you would treat like if I built like a guest like a big guest house or something, and you know, invited like a big family room type thing with, you know, a TV and, you know, a big stereo and you could sit down and, you know, a little mini bar maybe. And if I invited you over to hang out and listen to whatever was on the stream, okay, and whatever was coming through the speakers and the TV, and you were chilling out, and I let you have freedom of speech in there, okay, would you put your feet up all over the furniture? Would you piss in the corner of my house? Because if you did, I'd throw you out the window face first without a hesitation. So why does it surprise people when they come into a chat room and they piss, you know, in the corner of the room, or they start some stupid stuff that they get ejected?
Well, that's what the Occupy movement is now. They go and they occupy and they piss and they poo everywhere. and they found...
And they hand out condoms. They hand out condoms that have their logo on them, and they think that makes them a legitimate movement. You know,
here's the secret: all of those condoms have holes poked in them. Yeah, George Soros is secretly trying to impregnate all these idiots so that we can be out of a scene from Idiocracy.
Oh, great. I was about to say, what is he like, the hick in Idiocracy? And all the smart people don't procreate, but all the morons are, I got like 6 girls.
All kidding aside, there's one of these Occupy protests in California where they found thousands of pounds of feces. Thousands of pounds of feces just on the road.
I would think that would be like horses or something, not people.
Wait, are you talking about when you say
People are at
thousands of
least gonna
pounds
go
of
to
feces?
McDonald's. People are at least going to go to McDonald's and take a dump there. They're not going to take a dump in the middle of the street.
Are you talking about the police
Occupy
state-
people.
Yeah, but I mean, when he says 4,000 pounds of feces, does that mean that there was 4,000 pounds of feces walking around in black Darth Vader outfits with nightsticks?
Yep.
Or do you mean like piles of feces? Because there is a difference between, there's a lot of feces out there.
Well, what they do is they use a
I was
bucket.
being facetious, ladies and gentlemen. in case
I got it.
there's sarcasm.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
People use a bucket, Sheree. All kidding aside, they use a bucket, and then they dumped it in this one spot.
Oh, Jesus, dude. How nasty is that? For how long were they doing that for real?
I don't
Like
know the
3 weeks.
specifics of this, to be honest.
Probably
I'm
until
sorry.
they
And
cleared
when I
the
said
place out.
4,000, yeah, exactly. When I said 4,000 pounds, I was exaggerating. But I'm hearing from someone in the chat room that it was actually 200 pounds of feces.
Where was this?
One of the protests in California, from what I understand.
Was it
I don't
Oakland
remember.
or?
No, it wasn't the Oakland one. It was like the San Jose one, I want to say. By the way, in San Jose recently, they started to fluoridate their water supply. So that should help numb down the people. Maybe they had to do it after the Occupy protest. They said, we need
But Bob,
more
it is.
fluoride.
This is coming from Fox, though.
Yeah.
It could very well be.
What's happened with this, Sheree, is the right has tried to skew it as a bunch of dirty, nasty people who are just hippies and just throwing stuff all over the place and have
having
no
sex with each other and
sex with each other. And they said there's tons of drugs down there. And they're not hippie drugs, by the way. There's no pot down there, which I find hard to believe. But there's all sorts of alcohol and other drug use being, associated with these protests. I don't know. I think that.
What do they expect? I mean, when you're sitting around all day, what else are you going to do but drink?
Oh, good. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Let's go back.
I mean, yeah, these guys are like out there doing nothing. What do you expect them to do?
Well, Ken, you're from like the 1960s.
You're asking for it, Popeye.
Well, I mean, you were alive in the 1960s. I know you weren't born in the 60s, brother. I know you were already like in your 20s.
60s too. I was thinking on sending you a bucket, but
A bucket of Occupy?
yeah, a bucket of Occupy. Oh, like I said, hey, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We're back to the 60s, man. We've gone back in time. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, honestly, look, all kidding aside, I understand what you I know that Fox News, which is Fox News, they'll take anything and blow it out of proportion and make a federal case out of it. I know. But I also know that when people are like, there's no dirtiness at any of these Occupy events, maybe Zuccotti Park figured out how to be clean and do things. Okay, fine. But not all these Occupy events all over the place have been like that. Okay. And personally, Joe Joseph was talking about this last night on his show. There's a picture of a guy taking a crap on the American flag at one of these Occupy events. He's got his pants around his ankles, and he's literally crapping on the American flag. Okay, and there's like people, there's other sorts of stuff thrown on it. I'm sure, they probably pissed on it too. But there's probably
that's nasty.
35 or 40 people standing around watching him laughing, not doing a thing about it. Bunch of cowardly pieces of crap. And you know what? It's not about, Popeye, don't be brainwashed because you were in the military. No, man, he's taking the flag of your country, okay, and he's crapping on it.
He's
and no one's doing
defecating on
anything
it.
about it. But I bet you if you did that to a Mexican flag, you'd have 80 people all up in arms stabbing people.
Hey,
Because,
amigo, watch it about the Mexican flag, man. Don't you go crapping on my Mexican flag.
Yeah, you would have La Raza up your ass.
Well, it's
in
like
about
that-
5 minutes.
That
Yeah,
South Park
heartbeat.
episode. They were going to have Muhammad. They were going to show Muhammad or something like that. And Comedy Central actually censored them from doing that. But at the end, they showed, I don't know what it was, but it was like Jesus crapping all over everybody and getting crapped on and all this. And
Nobody cares.
The censors were just fine with it.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Jesus.
It
Yeah.
was a big hoopla.
Right.
Well, it's just a sign that nothing is sacred anymore. I mean, if you look at the caliber of people that have endorsed the Occupy movement, I'm not talking about, people that are just stupid like Michael Moore. I'm talking about like dangerous people like Bill Ayers and people like that are involved, that were involved in the 60s with things like this.
People have to remember that the people that were doing the same thing in the 60s are now running your government. Look what you have to look forward to. Because these people one day will be running the government.
Well, it's the Carter right now. It's the Carter administration and the Clinton administration. If it got married and merged
had
together,
like some kind of satanic orgy. Yeah.
Yes, and this is its demon spawn.
And don't forget George W. Bush in the mix there, who vacations with the Clintons.
Well, he's probably rubbing one.
Free
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We got so engrossed in our conversation, we talked right over the bumpers and went right into break. That was my fault. I'll take the flogging. I'm sure Bob will have a comment or two to say. He always does. Nothing? Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, we were so involved with talking about how the Clinton administration basically had sex with the Carter administration, and their demon spawn is what's running things right now. And in 2008, they said, give us your money. In 2011, they're saying, give us your guns. In 2012, they're going to say, give us everything else.
I'll give him a middle finger. That's what I'll give him, Sheree.
Give us your food will be next.
Yeah, you got that right. That's where the guns come in handy. You can have my guns, bullets first.
But see, they're going to use things like, well, we have to stop all this hate speech, or we have to stop all this fear-mongering speech. And they're going to use that kind of thing.
Congress. They have to close the Senate, disband Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, PBS, CBS, get rid of the CIA, the FBI. Oh, you mean they just want to shut the alternative media down?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Get it, Sheree. I was just being sarcastic.
All these new laws, that's what they're really targeted for, aren't they?
Well, wait, Jules, you said something during one of the breaks that was really disturbing. You went to the doctor today, and what did you see on the form? What did you see they have now? A new mental illness to go along with all this crazy police state crap? What's this new mental illness that people have now?
Yeah, well, so I'm leaving, and I'm looking at my form with, all the things that happened today. And at the very bottom, there was a list of diagnoses, and one of the diagnoses was tobacco use disorder. I've never in my life seen anything like that, but apparently now it's a disorder.
There's everything about being human is a disorder. We talk about bipolar disorder. That's just being human. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. We talk about depression. Let me take a look at what goes around in the world. We should be depressed. We should be upset with what's going on. But now it's a disorder that you need a pill for.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, that Chantix is pretty nutty. That stuff makes people have suicidal thoughts.
Oh, that stuff has made people kill people and so on. Just Sheree can tell you some stories about that.
Oh, man. A boy from my hometown in Texas burned down, allegedly, burned down 12 churches because he was taking Chantix, and a friend of his basically got him to burn all these churches down with him, and he claims that he was asleep pretty much for most of it. Well, yeah. Chantix causes that.
Well, one thing I noticed when I took it was that your dream state and reality start to blend together. Like your dreams at night are so realistic, and when you wake up, you don't know if they were true or not. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's what this boy said. He said he remembers setting a Christmas tree on fire one time, and that's all he remembers about any of these fires. But that he thought at first that it was just a dream, and then when he realized that these fires were actually really happening, he tried to stop it, and he turned himself in, apparently.
Yeah, so that's their solution. But
They tested that stuff. They tested Chantix on veterans. I remember. I remember it was in, I don't even think it was when I was here. I think this was back when I was in the VA in Jersey still, when I first got out. They had, just pieces of paper with printouts up on the wall. Hey, if you want to try, be part of a clinical trial, blah, 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 blah. We'll give you a free drug to help you quit smoking. And, a lot of vets, they come back, you end up, even if you're in good health and you're a runner, you start smoking cigarettes and stuff because of the things that you see, and you can't, guys do get hooch and sometimes get, hash or marijuana or whatever, even when you're deployed in other countries and you're out in the middle of a war zone. But the one thing that you always have on you to help kind of steady your nerves a little bit is a cigarette. And then when you come home, a lot of these guys want to quit smoking, and what happens, you get, the government, through the VA, they use you as guinea pigs, and a lot of these guys, they asked me if I wanted it, because I smoked cigarettes at the time, and I told them no, I would quit on my own, which I did. But they wanted me to try it, and I was like, no, I'm good. I don't like taking experimental drugs, thanks. I don't need to grow like a third arm out of my back. And
I
within
tried
like
to quit.
6 months, within 6 months, long story short, there were guys that were killing people because of the Chantix.
Which plays into the whole, returning vets are dangerous.
Special ops guys. Yeah, special ops guys just losing it because they were on this stuff, and while they were on this, it made their antipsychotics actually go in reverse and make them more psychotic. And, you got to wonder if, you got to figure they do some tests and see what kind of interactions it has. Sometimes they just put it out in the market. Yes, they are that heinous. But they have to, at a base level, know that it's going to cause this reaction and possibly could cause. Or if they didn't even have this inkling, it's even worse that they were using the veterans as guinea pigs to see what would happen because people died. Like special ops guys snapped and broke their wives' necks. It was really bad.
Wow.
They wouldn't normally have done that. I mean, you knew that at least some of these people probably wouldn't have done that if they weren't taking these drugs. Why would you just snap one day and kill your wife, kill your kid?
I guess the question is, why is this drug still on the market? Because it makes them too much money?
Because people are taking it, and because I'm sure the VA, the VA, these drug companies, when they give the drugs to the VA just, they pay them for the drugs. And of course, the doctors get told you should use this because it's a drug, gabapentin, which is also known as Neurontin. Okay, that drug will make you really tired. It'll make you gain weight. I've seen people given it for, because they have seizures, pain,
fibromyalgia,
Yeah, fibromyalgia, for mood. Because it affects people. It also, might make you kind of a little bit depressed. It might make you, so if you're manic or whatever. I've seen people get, doctors say, well, one of the side effects is this, so we're prescribing it for the side effect. How sick of a society do we live in where medication is being prescribed not for its main purpose, but for
its harmful side effects?
So what happens when the person's not sick or something, but you're giving them this medication that ultimately does have a different goal? What are you doing to their body?
Probably killing their liver.
Look, I have to honestly tell you that someone very close to me was on a lot of medication for a while because of an issue, and they decided to go the El Natural route, and I can tell you that they've been much better since, overall feeling better and everything else. So, I'm not saying, if there are certain things, look, I know there are certain things that sometimes you need it, and I'm not saying that, but don't buy into it. You need to take this, you need to take that, you need to take this, you need to take that. And Anti-Tyranny News brought up in the chat room brought up a good point. Let me go back to it. There's a new disorder called oppositional defiant disorder, which I can only imagine means that if you believe the government would do something like 9/11, that means that you're probably a nutcase and need to be locked up.
Yes, it's pretty much what we all are. That would be our diagnosis. I'm sure that ended up in my private file that I didn't see.
Well, I'm sure the FBI is recording this because they have that neat little company that got the couple $100,000. I think it was like $500,000 or $600,000 to record internet-based talk radio. So,
good. Then I get to tell them, FBI, fumbling, bumbling idiots. Let me tell you something. They keep on going this, and then what they're going to do is they're going to classify you as psychotic, and they're going to take your guns away from you. They tried to do that.
Because I smoke?
For whatever reason. They tried to do that to me not too long ago. They said that I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I've been out of the military for 40 years, and right now I develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Sure, as soon as I'm classified with that, I lose my guns. I'm not giving up my guns. I told them, I said, stick it. So I did not go in for any type of evaluation. And they're good at pushing drugs. I just came from the VA. I had a consultation with the cardiologist there. And, yeah, he talked about smoking. And then, did you get your flu shot? I said, no. Well, you should have a flu shot. I said, I haven't had one since I was forced to take one when I was in the military. Other than that, I don't take them.
Ken, I'm going to cut you right there. I'm going to cut you off right there because we're going to break.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back with more WTF in just a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as we said before, after a while, this music kind of grows on you. It's kind of mellow and relaxing. It's like we're sitting out in some bad, seedy lounge somewhere. We're all hanging at the bar, drinking, airing our grievances, and just bitching about things. It's the beauty of the show.
Okay, Bob, sing for us.
Uh-oh, Bob, you're being called out by Ken and his alien friend.
I'm just going to play a short clip that I put together.
You have to learn to grow your own garden before you go on fight. And you got to take steps for solution. And the wicked man will be losing. Babylon no longer chosen. Every breakthrough their illusion. Caught up in a system where feet only lose. And you really think I'm gonna bring solution.
All right, there you go, guys. It's a rough copy.
I was going to say, it reminded me of Alan Parsons.
Oh, yeah. That's just what I redid it to. That was the instrumental we decided on. Little throwback.
All kidding aside, I'll give you credit for having the balls to sing and then play it on air.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
I wouldn't do it, so I'll give you credit, Bob. You have a big set of balls.
Fair enough, considering I'm an aspiring singer, but not a very good one, so.
You're all right, Bob. I don't care what Popeye says about you.
All right, fair enough, Ken.
I have a WTF comment here, and you guys can all weigh in on this. I know Chris and Sheree can weigh in on this because they have their own little personal experience with this. And actually, Chris is Mr. Law when it comes to things, so maybe he's got a little side note. But down here in Florida, up in Coral Springs, I talked about this on the beginning of Bob's show, okay? There's this guy, long story short, he's a 9/11 first responder, right? And he was at Ground Zero. He's dying of cancer. He's very sick, you know, and he's very skinny. There's a picture of him at the 10th anniversary. You can see he's very skinny, you know. And he's got, I think it's either a house or a townhouse, whatever it is. And it's either a homeowners association or a condo association. They're both equally scumbaggish, and they're just like each other. They're parasitic, okay? And you better than anybody, Chris, know how they work. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I've
this
got a court
guy
case coming up with them.
well, that's why I said this is going to, you know, you can weigh in on this. And they only allow the American flag, okay, to be flown. Well, he's got the American flag, and he's got a flag from 9/11, which is the American flag, but it's got the names of the people that died, the first responders. And they have the balls to tell him to take it down, and people complained, but when he went and checked it out, nobody complained except for this woman who was on the board who came over and tried to assert her little bureaucratic authority. Now, even if someone did complain, you couldn't tell them, shut up. Oh, well, you know, that's a rule. F the rules. The guy's a first responder. You can't just bend it a little bit and give the guy a little leeway. What
first of all,
country do we live in, Chris?
First of all, I would say that he needs to go through the rules and find it for himself, because a lot of times when they come at you and say these are the rules, they're making them up as they go along to whatever suits their agenda. Like in my case, the rules said something completely different than what they did. And when I brought them the rules at the meeting, they were like kids who got their hands caught in the cookie jar. You know, they were just, Sheree was standing right there, and I was going through the rules, and I even looked at him, and I said, you're looking at me like somebody that doesn't want to follow the rules. I'm following the rules to the letter. You're not following the rules. I was even quoting the quote-unquote rules, their bylaws, and they were asking me, where are you quoting from? And I said, wait, this is ridiculous. You're asking me where I'm quoting from. I'm quoting from your bylaws. You don't even know what's in your bylaws? And they said, well, we don't have it memorized. And I turned around and told them, well, somebody should, because then stuff like this wouldn't happen. But first and foremost, I would go through the rules with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that that is a rule to begin with. And then after that, I would start manipulating the rules and bending the rules and start just changing the definitions of words to fit whatever agenda that I was trying to move forward. That's what they do. So you have to fight you have to fight fire with fire.
You got to play the game on the same game board. Well, I was listening to this local talk show host down here in South Florida today on the AM talk about this, and this guy's kind of usually a neocon, but he was pretty pissed off about it, and I'll give him credit. So a lot of the callers to his show were like, well, you know, that's the way, you know, the condo association, the homeowners association, whatever it was, you know, that's the way they, for the rest of the show, I'll just call it the association whenever I refer to it, because I don't remember if it was a homeowners or a condo, whatever, it's the same. Anyway, they would, oh, well, you know, those are the rules, and the guy should have blah, blah, blah. What the hell kind of country do we live in? This isn't the America that I grew up in. This isn't the country I grew up in, and I know that it was usurped long ago, but things have really changed mentally with the civilian populace, not the brainwashed military or police, or, well, I guess police are civilian too. That's a distinction that police often forget. They like to say, well, you know, we're the police, they're civilians. You guys are civilians. There's only a distinction between civilian and military. Get it right. Police are civilians. That's the key thing. They have police thinking that they're not civilians and citizens anymore. See how they drive a wedge?
Yo, it's not just you guys down in Florida. We got a guy here in Springfield, Oregon, 70-year-old who served in the Navy in the 60s, told him that if he hung the U.S. flag again, they'd evict him. Oh. You know, what the heck is this?
That's disgusting, dude. Or the kids that the judge just found in California. Remember those kids that on, what is it, May Day, or what? Not May Day, Cinco de Mayo. They were wearing American flag T-shirts, and the school suspended them and made them go home. The judge ruled against them and said that it was offensive.
Yeah, I got some offensive for him.
Welcome to the police state, ladies and gentlemen, where you cannot even wear a T-shirt with the country's freaking flag on it to school, because it might offend somebody.
Line up. Everybody in a single file. Let's all get together and sing Kumbaya and salute the New World Order.
Yeah, right. You can stick the New World Order right up, you know where, up your ass.
Up your chocolate whiz-wang.
Yeah, I'm not going to accept anything. This isn't the country I grew up in. This certainly isn't the goddamn country that I took an oath to defend. I mean, what the hell happened? I understand the takeover inside the government, but the general populace, they don't care.
They're sheep. It's not a matter of the people who care. It's a matter of the people who will conform.
Well,
I'm not-
right. I was just thinking that, Ken. I mean, individuality is what is at stake here. And being able to think for yourself and be independent is what they're battling against. And we need to all conform to the cookie cutter. And it makes us fit into the whole UN, agenda of breaking us into multiple regions globally. And there really is no country anymore, is there? Aren't we the North American Union at this point?
Yeah, us, Canada, and Mexico.
Right.
So we shouldn't have an immigration policy. We should just invite our brothers from Mexico on in.
We did. The borders are open.
It's the fact that there are so many people out there that will just conform to whatever the government says. It's like Chris said, what is whatever the heck those people are down there. They tell you something, they want you to automatically jump in line and say, "Oh, yes, massa. I understand, massa. Don't beat me no more, massa."
Exactly.
But the problem being is people, and people don't think. And once you turn around and say, "Wait a minute," they look at you like, "Oh my God, this guy's a terrorist. He's gonna kill people."
Or crazy.
Well, here's an example that I like to give. In Texas, I don't know about the other states, because the Texas, I did a lot of research in this. There's actually no law against speeding. You can look up the speeding statute, and you can argue if the statutes are even applicable. But when you open it up, you realize that what it says is you're driving without prudence and out of control of your vehicle. That's
It's
what
the
that
same
means.
here in Florida. It's the
Exactly.
same.
But people automatically assume if you go over the speed limit, then you're automatically speeding. And then they just take the ticket for whatever. But this is the way that they've manipulated people from the beginning. And it's very important to realize that they have left a loophole for themselves in everything that they've written.
Wait.
All we have
Go
to
back
do is our
repeat that
diligence.
slower for us slower folk. What?
They have left a loophole.
You said this applies to here in Florida too. What's this loophole? Because I'm sure people are going to want to hear this. Repeat that
Specifically,
again.
if you don't collide, if you're not driving fast enough where you can't prevent yourself from colliding with an object, technically that's not speeding. That's from what I understand. Here, Chris, the rule is.
Well, I can look it up real quick during this next break.
Well,
but
let me ask you this. What do they consider colliding with an object? Let's ponder that while
I'll give you the for word definition here in a second.
All right,
we're going
folks.
to break, so we'll have to get to it on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. It's the top of the hour. We'll be back in a few minutes. A little bit of the IRN radio news feed, and then we'll be back. So stay tuned for hour number 2.
Going to Israel.
No, I promise. I think that commercial's gone.
It's exactly the same in Florida as it is Texas.
Yeah.
Look at that. Chris
We
Geo.
actually talked about this at my breakfast that I have every week.
Yes, it does, Annie.
Because the rest of the country sucks.
The following program may contain subject matter and language that those with a weak constitution will find distasteful and offensive. You've been warned.
Come on, man. WTF.
Oh yeah, you're listening to WTF.
Bob Tuskin has become Barry White. You wearing the white velvet hat with like a purple feather sticking out of it too, Bob?
Can't get enough of your love, baby.
You got the afro.
Uh-huh.
You could fit back into like the 60s, late 60s, early 70s. Ken, you remember that era, right? I think you're probably the only. Jules, were you alive back then?
Ken was in his 50s back then.
I
Oh,
was born
wow.
in the 60s.
You were born in the 60s?
Yes, I was. The
Mazel
end of the 60s.
Oh, so you were alive after Kennedy was assassinated, because I bring this up because we have an hour left, because it's 11 o'clock here on the East Coast, and in actually about 55 minutes, it will be the 48th anniversary of the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. And by now, everybody realizes that, the government had a hand in it. I mean, I love when they try to act like you're, the mainstream media. Oh, those conspiracy theorists, that's, those crazy people that think JFK, there was, some sort of government conspiracy. Well, I guess the government itself is a conspiracy theorist, because the government found back in the 70s, and even that was, edited and whitewashed. But they found it was... Huh?
What's amazing is they just came out with a thing. It's supposed to be on Discovery or Life or one of these channels.
What's it called?
Some documentary thing about Kennedy where they got all of this new footage and they digitized it, and it was Lee Harvey Oswald, because it wasn't 3 seconds to shoot, it was 6 seconds to shoot. Obviously, these people have never fired a gun in their entire life. I don't care if it was 3 seconds. I don't care if it was 6 seconds.
Dude, I don't care if you had 15 seconds. That gun is a piece of crap.
The gun's a piece of garbage, for one, and for two, you've got a guy up there. He's not a trained sniper. They've had snipers try this stuff and can't do it.
You ever see Bill Hicks? He
Yeah.
does a great visual where he takes his hand and he smacks his head with it, like the bullet, and he goes, wait a minute. And he traces it back. And his hand, and he points, oh, in front. You see the kill shot. You know what their official explanation for that is? Their official explanation is the bullet went through the back of his head, into the back, exploded outward, out the front, and that explosion of the back of the head, even though that defies ballistics, and just basic physics, but they said that was exhaust for like pressure from the bullet traveling through the head that blew out the back.
Yeah, I
Even
got an
though
pipe they can stick their nose up.
Ken, you're a Marine. You were a gunner in Vietnam. Okay, when you shot stuff, what happened to the back of things when you shot it?
The first shot. The first shot came from behind. That's a fact. Because what did he do? He reached up and grabbed his throat, and it pushed him forward. Now all of a sudden, the kill shot comes from behind and pushes him backwards and to his left. Physics might not work. Maybe it works differently in Dallas. I don't know. But very plainly, there is no way that you could shoot somebody in the head like that and have them move back and to their left.
Well, these were special box cutter bullets.
Oh.
Same ones they used to take down those 3 towers on 9/11. So they do amazing things.
Thanks for clarifying that for me, Bob.
No problem.
Yeah, they're made by the CIA.
Tuskin. Because he knows all
Bob
this.
Tuskin.
They're made by the CIA, apparently. I guess you can only get them in certain places.
Bob Tuskin is made by the CIA?
No, the magic bullet is made by the CIA. Well, Bob could be made by the CIA, too. There are some conspiracy theories on that, too.
Probably all have been made by the CIA and the FBI and Interpol and the rest of them. But the other thing that's curious about this, and, to have a question about something, it does not mean you're a conspiratist. What it means is you have questions. My question is, what the hell happened to all the people on the grassy knoll who said the shots came from over there, and they pulled this lame thing, oh, you just heard the sound ricocheting off the buildings.
A lot of them died, Ken.
So, because most of them are dead.
Steve Bowers, he witnessed people come out and shoot because he was overlooking the area behind where that fence was on the grassy knoll. He said he saw 2 guys come up. One guy was dressed in a cop uniform, and the other one was sitting there, leaning over the one was in the uniform was leaning over the fence. He had a rifle in his hand. He said I should say this coincided with everything, that everybody else saw as well. And he said he saw a puff of smoke, as did other people. And then he ends up he dies after, I don't know if he I think he did testify to the Warren Commission, but he died in a single car accident, of course, as well as many other people did. Did you know? In fact, I'm gonna find the clip because this is something that never gets talked about, and since it's perfect for this show, there's a video. There's a woman who for the life of me I can't remember her name right now. I keep wanting to say Deborah Jean Palfrey, but that's not it. She was in the car. She rode in a vehicle with certain people that were involved in the assassination beforehand, and she had stumbled into. I guess she got hit by a car or whatever, and they had picked her up on the side of the road, and they brought her into a hospital. And here it is, the Rose Cheramie story. Let me see if I've got enough time before we go to break. Yeah, okay. Check this out, guys. This is something that never, ever really gets talked about. I need to bring a little light to it.
They're gonna kill Kennedy. Through the credit sequence of Oliver Stone's JFK, we get, in segments, the story of a woman who's thrown out of a car, abandoned, ends up in a hospital, and warns the people in attendance that President Kennedy is about to be killed in Dallas. She says that these are serious men and somebody has to do something. What not very many viewers realize is that this story was absolutely true, and it was investigated by Jim Garrison, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, and now the Review Board has released more documents on this remarkable story of this woman who 3 days in advance predicted that President Kennedy would be killed in Dallas. On November the 20th, 1963, Louise Guillory, a hospital director at Moussa General Hospital, called State Trooper Francis Fouget, who worked in narcotics detail. She told him that they had a patient at the hospital who was under the influence. Fouget went over and found a woman named Rose Cheramie in the waiting room outside the emergency ward. Moussa was a private hospital, so Fouget had to arrange to have her transferred and also to receive a sedative. On the way to the state hospital at Jackson, Louisiana, Rose Cheramie began to relate her remarkable story. She was en route from Florida to Dallas as part of a drug deal with two other men who were Cubans. Rose Cheramie was to function as a courier of funds for heroin, which was to be dropped off to her by a seaman coming into the port of Galveston. From there, the three were to proceed to Mexico. At a seedy bar en route called the Silver Slipper Lounge, an argument ensued, and Rose was roughly abandoned by her friends who threw her out. Then while hitching a ride, she was hit by a car driven by a man named Frank Odom. Odom had delivered her to Moussa Hospital, where she was picked up by Fouget. While on the way to Jackson, Rose told Fouget that in Dallas, the men had planned to kill Kennedy. According to several witnesses at the hospital, on November the 22nd, Rose again predicted the assassination before it happened. She also told the doctor there that she knew that both Ruby and Oswald had known each other, and she had seen them together at Ruby's club. Fouget later also confirmed that she had worked for Jack Ruby. Another employee at the hospital, an intern named Wayne Owen, told his local newspaper in Wisconsin that he and other interns were told of the plot in advance of the assassination. He said that they even heard that one of the men involved was Jack Rubenstein, which was Jack Ruby's real name. Rose also told of that association with Ruby to Dr. Victor Weiss at Jackson Hospital. He was Jewish. After the assassination, Fouget told the House Select Committee that he demanded to see Rose Cheramie again to interview her. She told him that her two companions actually seemed to be part of the conspiracy rather than just aware of it. Fouget then had her story about the drug deal checked out by both local and federal authorities. Fouget then had his superior, Colonel Morgan, call up Captain Will Fritz of the Dallas Police to offer Rose as a witness to his investigation. Morgan told Fouget after the call that Fritz was not interested. So, a potentially explosive witness was now turned away in 1963. In 1967...
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the full clip on Federal Jack Tube 6 titled JFK Assassination, The Rose Cheramie Story. Cheramie. Rose Cheramie. Check it out. When we get back, more WTF news. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Jules brought up something during the break that we need to talk about because this is just, it just dovetails right into JFK and everything else. You know, on the 48th anniversary of the President of the United States being assassinated, you would think that the Secret Service would be more careful with things, right? Well, Jules, what did they do?
They lost his itinerary, apparently, at the his visit to Australia for the Pacific Free Trade, the end of his Pacific Free Trade shindig that he had going on in Hawaii. And it had his entire breakdown of his whole schedule, his security convoy, the mobile numbers of senior officials from the U.S. and Australia, and it was just laying in the street. I mean, I read in another article it was laying in the gutter, but someone had located it. So it was pretty nuts, because if the right person would have gotten that into their hands, that could have been quite detrimental to Barry.
Here we go. I'm going to stir the pot. 3, 2, 1. Was it done on purpose, or was it just accidental? And go.
Was that for me? I mean, I
don't
don't
all
know.
jump
That's
at once.
exactly
There's a
what I
whole
was
room
thinking.
full of you.
I know. Go ahead.
It was purpose
Chris, Sheree. Accidental, purposely.
Purpose-dental.
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them?
Purpose-dental? I don't know.
Like Bob said?
I stepped away for a second.
No, I was talking about the in Australia, Obama, I guess like his itinerary and everything, some secret, one of the Secret Service documents was found in a gutter. And I was trying to stir the pot a little bit to see what their thoughts on it, purposely or accidental.
My views on situations like this is that whatever gets leaked is leaked on purpose and for a reason.
There are no accidents when it comes to leaks.
These people are very intelligent. We underestimate them a lot, but they are very intelligent. And they leave holes for a reason, to create uproar or to create disinformation or anything like that. That's my opinion.
So Chris Geo thinks that they're intelligent and that they're holy.
I didn't say holy.
You said they leave holes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they leave holes. Yeah, absolutely.
You see how Bob chooses words, and now there's going to be a conspiracy theory out there tomorrow that the Illuminati worships Chris Geo.
Maybe they do. Maybe that's the Grand conspiracy.
Oh, no.
Chris is at the top of the pyramid. He's that evil eye.
Yep.
Yes, darling.
But I don't know. That's my opinion. Like 9/11 was left with so many holes in it because they wanted to create a dichotomy. They wanted to create a paradigm. They wanted people getting mad, and they wanted riots in the streets. They wanted protests. You can't have that if people don't see something wrong. So they screw the people over and over and over again. And then you've got the people fighting amongst each other, and that's what they love the most, because it's divide and conquer.
And it works well.
Yeah,
it does.
Well, it hasn't worked too well because they didn't account perhaps for how dumbed down people are and how apathetic they are. That's why they have to push this pseudo movement known as Occupy.
But Bob, you see it all the time, the many different mentalities of people. And you've been attacked before for speaking out against 9/11 or saying something like that. I remember this guy, I was at Six Flags, and he wanted to come up and fight me. He wanted to start a fight in Six Flags because my shirt said 9/11 was an inside job. And then he used appeal to emotion, and he used I guess it would be a logical fallacy. I'm not sure how you would categorize this, but he came up to me and said, well, my friend died in the World Trade Center. And I looked at him and I said, well, that's even more reason for you to want to get to the truth, isn't it? But
that's what I always say, but they don't like that, Chris. They're not interested in truth.
No, they're not. They're not whatsoever.
I've had that conversation so many times. I've had that same conversation, Chris, that same exact conversation where the guy says, I lost family members, don't, this is the wrong thing to be, and they're getting all emotional, and you realize to yourself, this is why the trauma-based mind control works.
Exactly.
Why they did it.
Street are doing, okay? They're doing the same thing as the Weather Underground did. They're going into upper middle class neighborhoods, upper middle class, not upper class, upper middle class, and they have in their mind that they're somehow the top 1% and that they're the problem to everything and so on and so forth. And these are just regular yuppie people. These are regular yuppie people that if you would talk to about this kind of information, a lot of them may be receptive to it. But they've created that paradigm. They've created that separation. So now you've got the yuppie people thinking that they're the top 1%. You've got them thinking that the whole Occupy Wall Street movement is a big joke and so on and so forth, which I'm starting to realize that it probably is. But the point is that they've created another line of division. And then take it a step further than that. Okay, Occupy Wall Street starts demonizing the Ron Paul people. So then you have a split between the Occupy Wall Street people and the Ron Paul people. And then the 9/11 truthers and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden you've got all these groups fighting amongst each other. I mean, even look at the 9/11 conspiracy movement. Okay, some people say there's no planes. Some people say there's planes. Okay, but what difference does it make? We know that something is wrong, and we know that the government was involved in this.
Right, at a base level, it doesn't matter what if you know, some of the semantics. If you think the government did it, we should at least start there and then, you know, lay all the facts out and, you know, follow where it goes, right?
Exactly. But they keep us arguing with each other, and that's what they want. And we're following.
The thing that's so sad is that it's all the minutia, you know, but you're absolutely right. The minutia doesn't matter. It's the end result is that they perpetrated this crime and they're not being punished for it. And it changed our whole world. And, you know, I mean, that's the point. And it should be bringing us all together. And that's what they don't want.
Exactly. We're busy arguing over whether there were planes or not, and nobody's talking about the tyranny that's happened as a result of it. We're not uniting to fight that, and because we're too busy arguing with each other. That's my view. But I have pretty skewed views sometimes. You know, I have pretty twisted views. Because I believe that we're responsible for ourselves and nobody else. And that our only purpose is to change ourselves. We can't go out and change the world. We can't go out and change the next person. I don't even talk about these kind of things to regular people when I meet them in the street, because I've come to a point to where I realize that all I'm going to do is get frustrated by doing so. The only person I can change is staring me in the mirror.
Well, Chris, I'd rather get frustrated and say something, though, you know?
Yeah, but if it's their dharma to fall, then it's their dharma to fall. You know, I don't want to stand in the way of
I hate to disagree
lessons.
with you, because I feel this, and I don't mean to jump all over you right now, but I know what you're saying, Chris, but then I also think to myself, well, if I didn't have somebody say something to me and have that same attitude with me, I would have never been presented with all this valuable information.
It might be just because of our journeys, but my journey was that I discovered this on my own. And that I came to this information on my own. And when somebody actually told me about the Illuminati and gave me a whole lesson in all of this, Freemasonry and all of that, when I was like 17 years old. But between the time of 17 and about 25, I had completely forgotten about it. And I just went right back to the raves and doing everything that I was doing. It didn't mean as much to me. But then when I started to research it for myself and learn it for myself, then it became so much more valuable. I mean, it even goes back to the way you raise kids. You know, if you give them everything on a silver platter, they turn out to be little brats. But if they work for what they get, then they turn out to be a lot more humble. You'd look at a self-made millionaire versus what's the term that I'm looking for?
A lottery winner. They always
not a lottery winner.
But they always
a trust fund baby. Trust fund baby. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, you can take a horse to water. You can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. Anyways, we're coming to a break, right, Baba?
Salt in his oats and make them thirsty. Let's have a real conspiracy theory. I think the Secret Service is sending Obama a message.
Ken, take us out. We're going to break.
Hey, we're going to break. I don't know how much time we got, but we're going to break. We'll be back.
And we are back here on What the Fuck Radio, WTFR, with Bob Tuskin, Federal Jack Jules, and Kenneth Hildebrand, Senior, not Junior. Don't get it mistaken. It is the Senior right here, right for you, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, Geo, and Sheree, of course, of truthfrequencyradio.com. And I wanted to finish up the point that I was making. When we first get in this truth movement, we want to get out there and we want to just get it with a bullhorn and just spread this message to everybody. But you find that a lot of people are turned off by that approach. I've found myself dropping hints to people or planting seeds, just in regular conversation, but I do it pretty covertly. But there's a difference between presenting the information and going out there and trying to force somebody, force this information onto somebody, in my opinion. And that's what we're doing. We're creating films, we're creating websites, we're creating radio shows, and so on and so forth, where people can come if they want. But trying to take it to them, I think, is where we start to fall, because people just get turned off by that and just completely push it away. But when they come on their own, and then it means that much more to them. And some people will come and listen, and some people will, tune in and then just tune right out. And some people will never tune back in again. And it's their own dharma, it's their own path to walk. They're not, we all have a different spiritual level of maturity, or we're on different spiritual levels. I'll just leave it at that. And so, you can't expect this next person to be on the same level as you.
What do you mean we can't bring it to them?
You can't force it.
No, you can't force it, but you can bring it to them. You said if we bring it to them, they might get turned off. How else are they going to find it? If nobody brings it to them. I mean, maybe this is a matter of semantics, but I feel as an activist that we need to go on the city commission meetings and talk about these things, that we need to be on the local talk radio shows, regardless if the public receives us well or not. We need to go on the street corner with the bullhorn, okay?
You think so?
Yeah, I've put aside the bullhorn activism, Chris, but I think in a sense, yeah, we do. We do need to show, I mean, Chris, these are serious issues we're dealing with that require some sort of serious response. And if that's all we can do to show the urgency of this, then yeah, I think we should go out there. And I'm not too quick to say that turns people off automatically because somebody's passionate about a cause.
Can you name a couple of situations where this has worked out?
Well, every time I've gone on the street with my bullhorn and my signs, and we've talked to people, I can tell you that there has been at least half a dozen people that say, well, there's something to this. I had never heard about this. This is the first time I'm ever seeing anything like this, hearing anything like this. Thank you very much. I will look into it. Every time, Chris.
I think sometimes I think that, honestly, I'm going to interject something here. I think it depends on both. There's a mix. The answer is there's a mix of both of what you're saying. Okay, sometimes bullhorning doesn't work, but also not doing anything doesn't work either. I mean, Chris, my personal view is if you take a stand and you even step up to the plate and, for instance, you do a radio show, so you are doing something. You are bringing it to them because they can stumble upon it. Somebody might rip it and throw it in a YouTube video and email it. Bob, you sit there with a bullhorn and you yell and scream. I myself, when I go places, I carry DVDs with me, and I always carry federaljack.com business cards. I can make friends with a rock. I make conversations with people, okay? So I just go and I start blah, 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 blah. And then I end up, oh, you should watch this movie. It's awesome. My friends and I are filmmakers. We made this. Check it out. Even if I had nothing to do with making the movie, okay?
I do the same thing. Every single store I go to, Chris, I start a conversation of some sort of conscious nature with the store clerk. Now, people might look at me like I'm a crazy big mouth and that I just talk to people, and I'm probably that guy where everyone's like, oh, hey, Bob, you're embarrassing me when we go out in public. You can't talk to everyone. But I talk to them. I don't give a I really don't. If people are going to be such pansies that they can't take a conversation, then so be it. But chances are those people might be receptive to what you have to say.
Well, I guess we each have our own path to walk, but my path has shown me that it leads to nothing but frustration. And like I said earlier, when I'm talking to somebody, yes, of course, I really like what Popeye said about just starting a regular conversation and then saying, hey, check out this DVD.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. But see, you in your own way are both doing the same thing as what I'm trying to get you both to say. You're just doing it your own ways, okay? Bob, you bullhorn. Chris, you do a very insightful 4 hours of radio every weekend. Plus, you guys have a thing going with Christopher Everard, too, as well, for like another 2 hours. So you guys do like 6 hours of radio roughly a week. That's a lot of work. And don't forget
special broadcasts at truthfrequency.com.
So you're doing the exact same thing that Bob does, except Bob does it with a bullhorn and his radio show and with his attitude.
And with the Jufro.
People out. Well, yeah, and his Jufro. And you and Sheree have a different way of doing it, but from like something like a third party's point of view, you're both doing the same thing. And you're both...
No. There's no doubt about that.
You're both needed, too. There is no better way to do it. I'm just saying you are both needed.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that at all, that there's a role for all of us. But I think this is a conversation, Chris, that I've had many times. And, maybe I'm just playing devil's advocate, but I can't help to think that all that work that I've done isn't... a waste of time. I think it has done good, and I've witnessed this in my own life with people that at one point were ignorant sheep, that because of being confronted, which everyone's afraid of, they were able to see later on down the road at their own call, because again, Chris, I totally agree with you. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink. They realized, they say, you know what, there's something to that, and years later, they're on our team.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why we do the radio show, because so we can have something that people can look at or listen to or, come to whenever they're ready.
Bob, you can lead a horse to water and you can't make him drink, but you can put salt in his oats and make him thirsty. And that's basically what you're doing. You're putting a little bit of salt in their oats and let them gnaw on that for a while, and then you give them a little bit more. You can't beat somebody over the head with a hammer. Well, you can, but it's illegal. But for the most part, if people get a little bit and then they get a little bit more and a little bit more, you just want to give them enough to get them thinking. And then they start hearing it somewhere else, and they hear it somewhere else. That's putting salt in a horse's oats and making them thirsty. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think we need to watch out for sleeping dog syndrome, where you wake up a sleeping dog and then they bite you or something. That's something to beware of.
What are you talking about? Neighbors? See something, say something?
No, I'm just saying sometimes people do. If you wake them up, they go the other direction. If it clicks in their head and they're like, "Oh, I'm awake." What they do sometimes is unexpected. A lot of us, we became awake and we said, oh, we got to do something about this. Other people, they become awake and they go further into the sand. They have that ostrich syndrome where they just, oh, this is too much for me to handle.
Ignorance, that's called, Bob.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
Yes. Willful ignorance is cognitive dissonance.
Or willful apathy.
Yeah, but no matter what you do, you're going to get those people. Whether you yell at them with a bullhorn, whether you give them a little bit of information, and they slowly grow. That's why you're almost better off giving them a little bit of information. But the whole thing is, you never know who's going to go what way. You just put the information out there and let people gnaw on it. Hey, if it upsets their stomach, that's not my problem.
You just got to warn them, too, sometimes. Look, I find everybody has their own door into this, too, that you can get in, that they can at least understand maybe somewhat comfortably or willingly, you know what I mean? That they don't have this la 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 attitude with, That's why, Bob, when we called CNN the other day on my show yesterday, I tried to make it personal. No, we called CNN yesterday too. Oh. Bob and I harassed CNN, like we have them on speed dial. We're the two, when you put the two of us on a radio show together, watch out CNN. And
your number.
We called them, and the chick tried to blow us off, and I wouldn't let her. Just like Bob didn't let the guy blow Susan off tonight, I wouldn't let her, and I tried to make it personal for her so she'd understand the reality of what was going on. That's what you need to do. You sometimes, when you're talking to somebody, just try to find, at least from my personal experience, just try to find the doorway into their mind. And sometimes, honestly, you're like Chris says, you're going to run into people that are just brain dead and they don't know, they don't want to hear nothing. Or like Bob said, cognitive dissonance. So,
well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with this heavyweight bout in a few minutes.
Say yes if you understand me.
I feel like I'm in some horrible nightmare in some house and I'm running down the hallway and some creepy guy is chasing me.
And that creepy guy is Bob Tuskin from the Bob Tuskin Show.
With the bullhorn and DVDs.
Welcome back to this heavyweight bout. Chris Geo and Bob Tuskin.
No. I refuse to fight a friend.
We're only kidding.
It's we each have our own path to walk, in my opinion. And so, whatever the universe prescribes to us or ascribes to us, no, prescribed would be the term, whatever that may be, then that's, our own path. I've tried it before. It doesn't work for me, but it doesn't mean that it won't work for the next person.
Well, that's true. A lot of people go out there and they try to be somebody else. They'll jump in somebody's face and start beating them over the head and going, "You got to believe this." And the guy will look at you like, "Holy crap, this guy's insane." But when they become themselves and they just approach people as themselves, and like I say, you don't have to shove the whole thing down their throat at once. Just give them a little bit of salt and make them thirsty. And let them check out a website. Let them look here, look there. Sooner or later, they're going to wake up one way or the other. They're going to either wake up to the fact that they're getting screwed, or they're going to wake up to the fact that I love my government because they wouldn't lie to me. So they go right back to where they were, right back to sleep. It's a touchy game when you approach people because you're both right. You don't know what way they're going to go, and you just have two different ways of approaching people. That's all. So we're going to call this battle a draw. Let's move on to something else. Hi, Jules.
Hey, Ken. What are you doing?
Oh, just kind of moderating here, having a good time. Oh, so how's by you, Jules?
Good. It's 29 degrees and partly cloudy. One of the things that I wanted...
I'm glad we got the weather report.
Yes.
All I could say is it's 78 degrees where I am, so...
Bite me, Popeye.
Yeah, wow.
Well, we celebrate Christmas down here in shorts and T-shirts.
Can we get a chemtrail forecast from around the country?
Yes, there have been lots of chemtrails this week. Have you guys noticed them down in the south?
And we had just a few today, but there have been days of particularly large amounts of trails being sprayed.
Here in Colorado, it's every day, all day.
Breathe.
They even started doing it at night, which is really strange because no other city have I seen them do it at night.
We've been continuously breathing it for the past couple of months.
It's been terrible, yeah.
Have you guys had upper respiratories?
Oh, absolutely. I cough and have to clear my throat all the time. And, I never had to do that in Texas. And I don't think it's just the cold air. It feels like there's something in my chest.
I think it also has to do with we're about 7,000 feet above sea level. And so when the chemtrails are coming down, they're dissipating different in a lower region like Texas or Florida. Versus
Because the evil from the surrounding scumbags burns it off. It protects them and everybody around them, apparently.
Yeah, it's a shame they've taken the most beautiful places and just, turned them into a complete New World Order.
Doesn't it make
operation.
you angry, dude?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
We had
The chemtrails are the most sinister because you can't, you can not buy GMO food, you can, take the fluoride out of your water, but there's nothing you can do about the air.
Yeah, but you know what? Then your food affects and water because it rains down. Sorry to cut you off, Jules. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just said N95 masks.
Well, isn't it funny how our culture and our society is so sick And our collective is so diluted that if you tried to wear a gas mask just in everyday life and you told people, well, I'm wearing a gas mask because I don't want to breathe in the chemtrails, you would be immediately taken to a mental hospital and hospitalized.
Yes, you would.
They'd have to watch Japan. They all wear masks over there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When Fukushima happened, I bought a box, and I was trying to determine when was a safe time to put one on my kid. But then
Wait
I
a
started
second.
thinking,
What kind of mask? Not those little surgical masks, right?
The particulates, the N95, NIOS8.
Okay. Yeah, because those little those masks you see people wear that just cover the mouth. That's all they do. They're just meant to cover the mouth. You still breathe in all sorts of junk with those.
Right. There's no escape, unfortunately, with the nuclear radiation all over the world and the chemtrails and so on and so forth. This really is a prison planet, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it.
That's why it's time to find your balls, ladies and gentlemen, and stand up and say, I've had enough of this shit, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Just
How
join me in the
about
Hollow Earth. Come to the Hollow Earth with me, folks. We can avoid it all there.
My mother...
You can get radiation out of your water with pureeffectfilters.com, though.
My mother, although
I get paid every time I say
she's
that.
got health problems out the wazoo. She goes through a lot of shit, but she has never given up her personal freedoms for anybody. And whenever I try to tell her, well, they're going to try to do this or they're going to try to do that, she's like, fuck them. She's got a mouth like a sailor, but she will not give up her guns. She will not give up her chickens and her land and her house, and she will fight to the death. And I really look up to her because of that, because you don't see that very often anymore. At least I don't.
Here, we had about 4 days ago, we had chemtrails that looked like a checkerboard in the sky. We haven't had sunshine since. My wife looked at it. She says, how do you know it's chemtrails? I said, well, you know what a vapor trail looks like. She says, yeah. I said, it just comes off a plane so far. I said, look at these. I said, there's the plane. Follow it all the way back. And you look at it, and this cotton picker went for miles. But they were crisscrossing and everything else. And that was in the morning. By the afternoon, it started getting overcast, and it stayed that way the sun just came out a little bit late this afternoon. And that was 3-4 days ago when they did this. So people that say, oh, you're crazy about chemtrails, I told my neighbor, I says, take a look at that. What are those? He says, they're chemtrails. He says, well, what are they, spraying? I said, yeah, it's basically they're doing weather modification because I don't want to hit him over the head all at once. I says, you watch. The next couple of days it's going to be cloudy. Next couple of days, sure enough, he says, you were right, it was cloudy. I said, yeah, that's your tax dollar at work. And I left it at that. And this is back with a little bit of salt. Next time I'll hit him with a little bit more. I don't want to scare him to death. He's scared enough of me as it is. Most people are. I'm done.
Well, Chris asked a good question a few weeks ago. We were watching the chemtrails and everything, and he said, well, the only thing I don't understand is how do they get the pilots to go along with this? And I thought...
Right, we haven't heard any whistleblower pilots or anything coming out about these planes.
Right.
Then Sheree came up with the idea that they might be drones. These are really big planes to be drones, though.
Yeah.
Well, it could be either large drones, or the other part of it is they're just telling these guys, look, we've got to do this to prevent this from happening.
Did you guys ever hear of a company called Evergreen?
They BS the military.
Yes, Papa.
Yes, Papa.
Look up a company called Evergreen, Ken. They make quote-unquote firefighting airplanes, which, there are firefighting airplanes, but these guys make 747s that can disperse whatever, okay? And they've been linked to this. If you go to federaljack.com or the intelhub.com, and I even think if you go to Bob's website, bobtuskin.com, if you look at, there's a search bar on the site, just type in Evergreen and like chemtrails, and it'll bring up articles about it. And I'm not kidding. These guys are like hip deep in it. And I'm sure they're not the only ones, but they are hip deep in it. Their planes are heavily used. They have their own pilots, So, I don't know. I'd like to know what kind of scumbag can look himself in the mirror and know that he's not only poisoning everybody else, but he's poisoning himself, his grandchildren, you know, his future lineage, the entire planet, the animal species.
The guy building the plane isn't aware of what it's being used for.
No.
But
the company
it is
Evergreen has their own pilots, Ken, that fly and disperse this stuff. Okay,
Like
so
I said,
they do know what it's being used for. Evergreen is a front company run by the CIA. It's formerly known as not Con Air. Listen to me, I'm thinking of a movie. What do you call it? Air America.
Yeah,
but
the
1960s.
Very plain. And not listen to this.
I remember them from the Iran Contras.
Exactly. Air America is Evergreen. That's who's spraying the skies.
Back in Vietnam, they had a war there. Matter of fact, Mel Gibson made a movie about it. We Are Soldiers. And the thing that they told the military was, oh, there's only like 600 VC up there. So they said, oh, well, we can go up. We'll take 400 guys up there. We'll kick their butt. It'll be over with. There were thousands of them up there. There were like 4,000. And they had 400 guys. So, you know, they don't care who they BS. They're going to BS anybody. They're BSing these pilots, telling, oh, well, you know, we've got to seed the clouds because they're in a drought situation. So we want you to fly from A to B, or, you know, it's to protect the people, whatever they're telling them. It doesn't matter. And it sounds like we're going to be leaving very soon, so I might as well get my plug in. This is Ken from the Information Nation, theinformationnation.com. You can hear this rebroadcast on my show in the archives, or you can go to my YouTube channel, or you can check out the Orion Talk Radio YouTube channel. It'll be on there in a day or so. And I'm glad that everybody tuned in tonight.
Chris, Sheree?
Oh, is that the end of the show?
Yes, it's been great.
It's been
Thank
a pleasure.
You guys.
Thank you very much.
Plug yourself real quick.
TruthFrequencyRadio.com.
Bob Tuskin. What a dick. Jules, thank you for hanging out. Everybody, Chris, Sheree, Bob, Ken, Jules, listeners, thank you all. Love you all. And F you all.
Yeah, I ate toothpaste.
I love eating toothpaste.
I got a whole sticker for Halloween.